Testing, testing.
The August 20th meeting of the Common Council will come to order. Clerk will please call the roll. Is this working?
Mr. Anani? Ms. Applyrs?
Here.
Mr. Ballerin? Mr. Conti?
Here.
Mr. O'Shea? Ms. Fahey? Ms. Farrell? Mr. Flynn? Mr. Hoey?
Here.
Mr. Igo? Here. Mr. Johnson? Mr. Kimbrough? Ms. Love? Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Robinson? Ms. 14 present.
Members and guests will please rise as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and please observe a moment of silence afterwards. Thank you. We will now proceed to the public comment period. Speakers will have 5 minutes in the order that they registered, and the clerk will please call the first name.
Marlon Anderson.
Good evening, members of the public, members of the council. My name, of course, is Marlon Anderson, community advocate from the Center Square section of the city of Albany, 214 Lark Street, apartment 2A in Albany, New York. I've come forward to speak on 2 matters. First, as you know, I have been coming forward speaking about status quo and how if the city is going to change for the positive, status quo must be addressed. And it seems that I must have been heard as this council prepares to vote tomorrow to change the status quo in the city of Albany and confirm a new police chief from outside of the, shall we say, system in the city of Albany. but more on that tomorrow when I speak at the meeting tomorrow. But again, the way to to change is with change, not with platitudes and statements of that nature, but more about that tomorrow. What I'd like to came forward to speak about this evening is what went on in the last few weeks, what has been primary in the minds and hearts of many in the communities that I advocate for in the city of Albany, which is what went on at the Arbor Hill basketball courts. And again, basically what went on there was a sad statement of what's going on in the country, a statement of division, of a small few hijacking the debate and discussion from the majority. We cannot and must not, as we strive to move forward in this city of Albany, as the good people in the city of Albany, try to move forward to change the city in a positive manner for everyone that resides in the city. We can't allow the debate and discussion to be hijacked by a small few. And when I say a small few, let me just say it's not just on the Caucasian side, it's also on the African American side as well. We cannot afford, if we're going to move forward as a city, to let a small few hijack the debate, because that's not availing us nothing. We have major issues in this city that if we work together, we can address and solve. But if we continue to allow this small faction on this side and that small faction on that side put us in an adversarial mode, in an adversarial attitude, and hijack the debate and make it an adversarial debate, we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to continue going around in circles. What happened in the Arbor Hill in the Arbor Hill softball course was an embarrassment to the city and should not have happened. And if there was true leadership, it would not have happened. But that's just a statement of the lack of leadership in the city, which allows people basically, for all intents and purposes, to do what they want to do in the way they want to do it. And we can't afford to have that lack of control in the city. It shouldn't have been done. It was an embarrassment, and the city should be embarrassed by that statement that was made in the Arbor Hill softball courts against a sector of the community. But because we have to remember, what affects one sector of the community eventually affects all sectors of the community. When you look around or denigrate one sector of the community, that eventually affects another sector of the community. And we can't afford that as we try to address the violence, the ignorance, the problems we have with the community, with bringing real people in the community. We can't afford that. And it's an insult to the hard work of many in this community trying to advance the community that people keep trying to pull us backward. Thank you, sir. So as I said, hopefully in the future we can understand that that type of action, that type of wall creating is an impediment to the advancement of the city. And no one should allow it or stand for it. And I hope that City Hall is examining how that went around, and I hope repercussions need to be had. Because, again, we can't continue to go forward antagonizing each other. That's not the way forward. That's the way backward. So until tomorrow, when I will speak on the status quo, and I hope everybody has made their mind to take that step forward away from the status quo that has been placed on the table. Thank you very much for your time.
Barbara Fetterman. Helene Brown.
Hello, I'm Helene Brown, 562 Park Avenue, and I'm here to talk about an ordinance introduced regarding the establishment of code for the operation of blood plasma centers. I've been in attendance at planning board meetings, and I've been against this type of business since the topic got raised. Oh gosh, probably a little over a year ago, about a year ago. It's my opinion that this type of business, first of all, that pays for blood donations or gives people gift cards for blood donations for a profit business, is very distasteful. And to me, it's going to attract the kind of person, or in abundance, the kind of person that really doesn't fit what I see when I look at what the cultural tone of our 2030 plan is envisioned to be. Out of 200 patrons, it was said, expected daily at one of these locations, only about 60 would pass their screenings and be eligible to provide the service of giving blood for which they're compensated. And while some of their clientele might be decent folks who just need a couple of extra bucks, they can donate twice a week. I think that a lot more of them will be of a different sort. And they'll be in these businesses want to centrally locate near populated retail areas where they have easy access to transportation. Something was mentioned about outside queuing also that I don't understand. And while some of their appointments will be by schedule, a lot of them are going to be just walk-ins, unscheduled. So also, the Red Cross is suffering a shortage to the extent that it's giving away Amazon gift cards for donations. And I think that this type of business has the potential, and others that will try to establish after them, to have a significant negative impact on the Red Cross's blood drives and ability to serve the public. While I was at the planning board meetings, it was my understanding that when this revision or addition to code was first surfaced, that they had set a 1,000-foot limit from schools and residences and religious institutions. And over several meetings, it got reduced to 250 feet, but by the end, after some discussion with the public, and they seemed to compromise at 500 before they sent it to the council to consider. To me, it's like Pandora's box. We have no idea how this business is going to impact the areas it establishes in. And to start out by being lenient, and then if it doesn't work out well, where you've got to try to put the lid back on the box, is really hard. So for me, I really want to see that 1,000-foot limit. I mean, when you think about it, 500 feet is really about 2 blocks, 2 city blocks maybe, and a mile is 5,280 feet. So if it was set at 1,000 feet, that's not that unreasonable. And you keep them so far apart from each other, so you limit how many can establish in the city. I think that was something discussed by the planning board, and I'd like to see happen, or that might have been something for methadone and marijuana. I can't remember which. And I think that a 1,000-foot rule. Am I time up? I think that a 1,000-foot rule would not be unreasonable to start with, and if things went well and it was a classy business and integrated well with, neighborhoods it was in to start with, you can relax the rules, but it's harder to make them more stringent once you let this start to happen. And there are a number of chains that provide the same service as the company trying to establish here, and they would probably be looking at multiple locations if possible. And I don't want it here at all, but if we can't have it here at all, I don't think it should be easy for them to be near the public way when they're on the buses and the CDTA, traveling to malls, back and forth to work, kids who take public transportation home from schools because they're just outside the bus stop. I just want to see them to the outskirts. And I just wanted to come down tonight to make my feelings on this matter known, and hope that it goes to committee for reconsideration, because right now, if I'm not mistaken, it's set at 500 feet, and I would like the 1,000 to be considered.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you.
Charles Obar Robinson.
Charles Obar Robinson, 404 Livingston Avenue, lifelong resident of Albany County. Dumpster in the middle of a cultural event. They put a dumpster in the middle of a cultural event. Once again, when you revitalize from the outside in and not from the inside out, you don't want to understand the inside. The proof is in the pudding. They put a dumpster on the court. How insensitive was that? I tell people all the time, a few years ago at the Boston Marathon, 13 people died. Did they cancel the event? No. They made it bigger and better. A couple years ago in Brooklyn, West Indian Festival, the mayor's assistant get killed. Did they cancel the cultural event the next year? No. They made it bigger and better. Only in the 518, where it's documented as the worst place in the nation to raise a minority baby. Hence, they put a dumpster in the middle of the court at a cultural event. A cultural event. I know it's basketball to some. A few years ago, I realized the impact of the Joyce E. King tournament when I seen 10,000 brand new pair of Nike sneakers. Nike sneakers. I said, how much does that generate to my economy, my local economy? And me being the intelligent person that I am, because I am intelligent, it is what it is. They got something called artificial intelligence now because certain people need it. But I don't need it. And people ask me to run from my reality. They put a dumpster on the court of a cultural event. Now, they got something called illusion by inclusion that's going on in Albany County right now. And you're about to hire a black police chief, once again, from the outside. Sure, he's black, but he's not going to answer to my community. Just like every other outsider that's black that came to Albany, that's in a position of power right now. It's illusion by inclusion. You're doing someone else's job against your own people. You're not from here. It's easy for you to tell your community, it's easy for you to perpetuate what's been constantly going on in the 518, dumpsters in the middle of in the court of a cultural event. Dumpster. Whoever ideal that was, because they said they had a meeting that a person from the community and a big voice in the community was not invited to about it, and they came up for safety reasons. For safety reasons. The Boston Marathon, 13 people got killed. Did they cancel it? No. You know what's happening to Albany? We had to endure years of a cultural event not having any type of financial support from the city. The only thing the city wants from us is how much money you gonna give us. But yet in all the St. Patty's Day parade get what? And what other parade? And the Tulip Fest and whatever cultural event on the other side. How much money do you get? Well, remember this. Any cultural event that took place in my community since I've been living here, the government has not contributed anything. And let's talk about me. And anytime I went to the government with an ideal, the land bank, I was a founding father on the committee. Frank Camisel Sr. stole an ideal. Everybody hear about that new skyway that's coming? That new sky, you know who ideal that was? It was Clarence Newton. He gave it to me, I gave it to Chris Spencer, and he stole it. Yes, this is actual facts, and I'm tired of it. They've been stealing from me for years my ideal. I come down this building, I've been coming in this building for years. 30-block initiative. You stole that and renamed it. You never once said, Mr. Robinson, here's some money for your community. You seem to be the only one that get it, that can give them a job. They can give them a job through that word, nepotism. Well, until nepotism is allowed to exist in the poor community, it's going to continue to be what? The poor community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Next speaker, please.
John O'Grady.
Good evening. My name is John O'Grady. Excuse me. I live at 817 Livingston Avenue in the city. I've lived here about 40 years. And I'm with a group called the West Hill West End Steering Committee, which has been around 5 or 6 years. We've been pushing a neighborhood plan, and the city helped us out a couple of years, actually last year, with a plan. What I'm here to talk about is the methadone clinic that exists. There is legislation, I believe, in committee right now, which changes the zoning code so that this kind of a service would not be allowed where it's located now. It's run by a group called Camino Nuevo, which is a very large and very important not-for-profit who provide a wide variety of services which we absolutely want to keep going. So we're very impressed and very much want to keep this clinic going somewhere. The location was the problem. The location is already out of compliance with a zoning regulation that exists now, which is that such a facility shall not be permitted where its busiest hours of operation would cause significant traffic congestion. Traffic congestion for some places would be a problem. Traffic congestion at a methadone clinic creates a real negative impact on the neighborhood and has been doing this for almost a year now. There's been the police have been very, very much involved also in trying to move the location of this clinic. There's been an increase in crime, littering, including syringes, food waste. Some of the clients of the clinic are interacting with people in the neighborhood in ways that are not good. There's Medicare drivers who are coming from about 4 or 5 different counties. They wanted a central location because there are a few clinics nearby or in those counties. Well, they have a central location, but there are other ones. Less than 70% of the people come from outside of Albany City, 70%. So it's not serving the neighborhood very well either. The Medicare drivers, 10 of whom were indicted on bribery charges and a few other things. There was an article in the Times-Union. These drivers, these are 10 of the drivers who bring clients from outside the county to this clinic. They regularly offer money to clients to take their cab. They're in competition. They make lots of money doing this. I mean, all of these things are not the fault of Camino Nuevo, but the fault of Camino Nuevo is that they just picked the wrong place, and we have been pushing them for a while at their community meetings Several of our members have been there. The police have been at their community meetings, and we've tried to make our point. So I hope you will consider this legislation very seriously, and I hope that we are able to make it retroactive, that there's some way of doing that. They have about a 2 or 3 year lease. We understand it's not that complicated to actually move a clinic, and we actually have a couple of ideas of a much better place, like with a parking lot. And so we think this can be done, and we hope that you will help us do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Grady. Next speaker, please.
Alana Klein.
Alana Klein, 29 Glenwood, 12208. I, like many, was appalled by what I saw up in the Arbor Hill courts a couple weeks ago. I don't live in the community, so I by no means am trying to co-opt the stories of those personally affected. But I saw a post on Facebook, one of the saddest things I've ever seen. This tournament was not the only thing that was canceled by the dumpster being placed and the rims being taken down. There were kids playing on that court that day, shooting a basketball at a backboard with no rim. It's tragic, and all I've seen are unnamed city officials saying this was in the name of public safety and this and that. I think the community deserves to know specific names, because at the end of the day, whether it was out of pocket or city funds, it was taxpayer money that was spent to put that dumpster on the court. Furthermore, I've seen some answers coming from City Hall about how to solve this violence that they're not solutions. Putting a dumpster in the basketball court, closing convenience stores early, they don't curfews. They relocate problems. They're not solutions to problems. And I hope that someone on this council will ask the prospective police chief tomorrow, because I can't be at that meeting, what he would have done to mitigate the problem of the violence, to prevent violence in the future. So I hope that someone in this room will bring that up at the meeting tomorrow, which again I can't attend. Also, I did want to speak on Local Law G, the proposed committee to assess the feasibility of city-owned internet. This is not committing to actually going forward with this. And I did speak with someone in this room the other day. I won't name names here because it was just a private conversation, but they basically said that it's difficult to commit to studying something if you don't know if you're even going to go forward with it. I'm probably not phrasing that perfectly well, but the whole point of this, or local law, is just to conduct a study. That's all it is. And I think it's not effective to dismiss conducting a study just because you're not sure of taxpayer funds going up or anything like that, which is the very point of the study. So again, to that individual, I mean, no disrespect to you, but that's just my opinion on the matter. Additionally, we kind of already do have city-funded internet at hotspots throughout the city, corner of Lark, a couple corners on Washington and Western. So I'm definitely in favor of Local Law G. Thank you for your time. Boycott the NRA. Black Lives Matter. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Ms. Klein. Okay, there being no further speakers, public comment period is closed. We will now move to the consideration of local laws. Councilmember Anani? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, we will move to approval of minutes of previous meetings. Councilmember Kimbrough? Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are adopted. We will now move to consideration of local laws. Councilmember Anani.
Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed local law G and I ask for its introduction.
Clerk will please read the title.
A local law amending Chapter 42 of the Code of the City of Albany by adding a new Part 39 entitled City of Albany Commission on Municipal Internet Service and providing the responsibilities of the Commission with respect to researching the logistics and financing of a city-owned high-speed internet service and requiring the Commission to make findings and recommendations to the Mayor and the Common Council regarding the creation of such infrastructure.
Councilmember Kimbrough. No, and local law G is referred to planning. Okay. We will now proceed to reports of standing or ad hoc committees. Committee reports. Councilmember Applyrs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to acknowledge that the Public Safety Committee will be meeting tomorrow in the council chambers at 5:30. The purpose of the meeting is to interview the prospective chief for the police department. So that meeting will take place in the chambers tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Doche.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to note, make sure people are aware that we have just posted for an opening on the Board of Assessment Review. We have 5 members of the Board of Assessment Review, and they have different terminations for their terms. So we have a member whose term is ending at the end of September. And so we are soliciting applications again for the Board of Assessment Review. The deadline is September 14th. I wanted to make sure that people were back from vacation, et cetera, and would have notice of that. So if you could please distribute that information, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Doche. Additional committee reports. Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Human Rights and Human Resources Committee will be meeting on the 23rd at 5:30 in the courtroom to reappoint Brenda Robinson and Linda Hunt to the Human Rights Commission. And also down the line in the near future we have 2 openings on human rights, and we will be having a meeting and discussion to fill those positions also.
Thank you, sir. Additional committee reports. If none, we will move on to ordinances held. And that is held. Correct. We'll now move on to resolutions introduced. Councilmember Doche.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice resolution 67.82.18R for introduction.
Clerk will please read the title.
A resolution authorizing the provision of an additional 5 business days for certain persons 65 years of age or older to pay their taxes without interest or penalty.
Thank you. Councilmember Kimbrough.
Yes, the remaining resolutions on the agenda are hold. Move on to
and
miscellaneous.
Resolution introduced is referred to finance.
Excuse me? Oh, did I skip again? Ms. Doche's resolution. Sorry about that. Will be referred to the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the rest of the resolutions are held.
Yes,
Did I miss
Commissioner of
anything?
Deeds.
Okay. The rest of the resolutions on the agenda are hold, and we move on to any miscellaneous or unfinished business. Any,
And you have a Commissioner of Deeds?
excuse me? Is it down here? Oh, okay. Sure do. Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I offer a list of names or a name for appointment as Commissioner of Deeds, and I waive the reading of the name.
Okay. Second, any, did we title or? Yeah, okay. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? The resolution is adopted. Any additional miscellaneous or unfinished business? Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to speak to some of the public comments that some of the members from our community gave a little earlier regarding the dumpster being placed in the Arbor Hill basketball courts in order to deter a tournament from happening. I spoke out against the issue on Facebook, but I just wanted to level set with anybody in the room that I seen this action as community bullying and not community engagement. None of the leaders of the Arbor Hill community were notified nor had input on the dumpster and the rims being removed from the backboards. This community, the Arbor Hill community, and also other minority communities have been through a lot this summer. And on July the 8th, the Times-Union had a depiction of the Arbor Hill community as a skeleton pushing an ice cream cart with guns and knives on it, and had a caption in the corner called Ice Cream Man, and with the words Arbor Hill in the background. I just want to let people know, the public know, that this is not who we are. You can't allow the bad actions of a few to label an entire community. And the dumpsters being placed on the Arbor Hill courts was just another action of kicking the horse while it's down. A lot of members from the community was outraged behind it, and it was representative of the city telling us in the Arbor Hill community that we were trash. That's what a lot of community members took it as. And if we are going to move forward as a city, if we are going to move forward as communities, these actions cannot take place in communities that are hurting from years of systemic racism, from years of being under-resourced, and from suffering the effects of those things. So I just want to go on public record to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Councilmember Fahey?
I just want to stand in support of what Councilmember Robinson was just saying. I mean, to me, that is absolutely outrageous. There's so many other civil ways to handle the issue of an event and not being permitted, but to put a dumpster in the center of the basketball court is truly outrageous. And I'm pretty outraged for the Arbor Hill community. And I also had not seen the political cartoon. Again, outrageous. That kind of labeling takes on a life of its own, and it really does a tremendous disservice. I think of all the really good events that have been held in the wake of all the violence, so many positive things, and then to you know, these kind of actions really set the whole community back. So I'm sorry for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Fahey. Any additional speakers? If not, is there a motion?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion adopted. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.